Uh,
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's a little bit after 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. So, y'all know what that means. It's another episode, the first episode of the year of Book Talk Live. Today, we are joined by Amazon #1 best-selling author, Miss Charlene Ross. We just launched her book. She said, you know what, I want to start the year off right. So, I'm coming to you guys to launch this book. And yesterday, we did just that. We launched her book, helped her get her book to #1 in at least 8 categories. So, Miss Ross, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling fantastic after yesterday.
Absolutely. Listen, so I can go on and give you just this amazing introduction because I know how amazing you are as a person, how much work went into this book. But I want you to kind of introduce yourself to the people. Tell them a little bit about who you are and a little of your story.
Hi, my name is Charlene Ross. I am the mother of Shonquell Barrett. Um, One night I received a phone call, and it was from my son, and he was in a high speed chase, and he was saying, "Mom, get to me." And I was trying to get to him, and I was like, "Just go to a lighted area." So me being on the phone with him and hearing all these sirens in the background, and the phone call drops, and he says, "Mom, just get to me." So it goes out again, and he calls back, and I'm hearing all this noise, and I can no longer get to him. I couldn't get to him, and I hear a loud noise, and I'm trying to call him back, and there's nothing. And I'm like, "Son, but wait, I need to tell you this. But son, I love you." I didn't get to say those things to him. The officer used a pit maneuver on my son, which caused him to spin into a tree, and he was killed instantly. So I had to find out more about what actually happened and what took place. And come to find out after all my research and meeting with the House of Representatives, the officer was going at excessive speed when he picked my son. He was not trained to go at 90 miles per hour to use his pit, and he did it in the wrong area. So through all that, I advocate for trying to get a bill passed in my son's name that prohibits the use of the pit maneuver. And also, out of this pain birthed this book, My Life Without You. And my book is gonna, out of our hurt, is gonna help heal. So in my book, through my writing, I'm gonna take you to that place. You're gonna feel what I felt. You're gonna experience my highs, my lows, know my secrets, um, and the things that I've endured from it. So that's a little bit about me in my book. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, so most people that are tuning in, I can say firsthand that after looking through and understanding more of what actually happened, people probably look and say, well, look at her now. Look at where she's at now. There's so much going on, so many changes. But there has been a lot of adjustment um, over the past few years that you talk about inside of the book, the pain, the grief, the loss. What were some of the things that you've experienced since?
well, since then, I've had some people that reached out to me and was letting me know, hey, I had did a poem called The Final Call. And this one lady reached out to me and she said, my son was getting into a lot of things. But when I read that poem, it allowed me to see and view things differently and talk to him differently. She said, I would go at him as to getting mad and angry and cussing him out. And she said, now, son, I don't know what you're going through, but I love you. She said,
Mm.
so now I tell him, after I talk to him, at the end, I always say, son, I love you. So, that helps me a lot. And that the people, some of his friends that have reached to me out to me and say, hey, since this, I've changed my life around and I see you stand so strong, and like that, those things are kind of good. The one thing that bothered me the most was when um, the news media had came out to my house and we went out to the scene where it had happened. And the lady, I don't know, but I know that she's a mother. She has a son, and she doesn't know that those things that was left for me for memories could have helped me in the process of my healing, but she took that from me. She used some very bad verbiage. She came out and she said, get the blank blank out my yard. He's dead. There's nothing you can do about it. um, so then I had to take a lot of things like that, those hits, and it's like, well, why your son didn't do this and do that? And I'm like, at the end of the day, things could have been done differently. It wasn't warranted. It wasn't probable cause or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the people can be very, very, very cruel, which is unfortunate. But we understand, life happens, and it definitely happens to us more than not. Um, you said one thing that I love is that you said since then you've had a lot more people that have come to you and said, you know what, I've turned my life around, um, as a result. How does that make you feel as a mom, after this situation?
And I feel like I'm going in. If I can make a difference and bring about a change, you know, I feel great for someone to hear coming to me and tell me that they changed their life. And then I've had people as far as Texas reach out to me and say, hey, this happened to my sister. I want to know where you at with this, trying to get this bill passed. And I've connected with someone in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was on their news team. It happened to this young guy. And when the lady asked me, the news lady asked me, she said, how do you, when I ask you this question, tell me what comes to your mind. So this guy was 20 years old, and it was an off duty preserve sheriff. Wasn't started work yet. He was preserved and waiting. And he had called the other guy, and he was telling him he was driving a marked fire truck, a fire car. And so he told him the guy was running away and asked the other sheriff, what should I do? So he got behind this guy and he started chasing him. And for the reason that it was, this guy lost his life. He was 20 years old, and it was
Mm,
for a measly ticket.
mm,
So she reached out to me, and she's keeping in contact with me to see how far this is going to go, and trying to get this bill passed, trying to get it outlawed, trying to get it banished in the United States. So far, I had 6 different cities to reach out to me. So that lets me know my story's getting out there. People are hearing, and they want to see change too.
absolutely. Listen, you on the front lines, fighting for justice, because it's not something that is just happening where you are. It is something that's happening across the globe. What we're gonna do is take a quick commercial break. Hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back in about 2 and 2.
Okay.
The BOBM family, I love y'all. You have supported me, and I'm just, I don't even have words for how being in this environment has allowed me to really tap into some things that I didn't know I needed to tap into. And I thank you because you're okay with me being me. And I love people that are okay with me being me. I'm not always in the clouds. I laugh a lot. I'm kind of goofy. I'm kind of silly. But let me tell you, I'm serious about this piece right here. And I thank you for recognizing and being okay with the fact that I'm serious about this piece right here. So thank you. Thank you, Sugar Ray.
Hey man, that Dr. D, powerful woman as well. I think that you all have a lot in common. Just the story um, in general. But let's talk about. So, for those of you who are just tuning in, we're joined today by Amazon #1 best-selling author, Charlene Ross. I see you smile every time you hear that now, right?
Yes.
It's still new.
It's something to smile about.
Yeah, but we are talking to Charlene. Her story, her son was killed in a high speed chase by the police using the pit maneuver, and she has actually been on the front lines ever since, fighting for justice. And so what I want to talk about is how can people get involved? What are some of the things, some of the steps that you've already taken? What are some of the things that people can do to help with this fight to get Shonquell's law passed?
I'm putting out a petition. I did protests. I met with the governor, and I met with the House of Representatives to go and let them know how using this pit maneuver is deadly. 99% of the time is deadly. And so you can go on my page, and it's a petition that we're getting ready to put into place that people can go and sign up. So far, I go to different places and I set up at the park or either at the DMV. I'll set up and have petitions for people to sign. So let's get this bill passed to prohibit the use of the pit maneuver and chasing in the United States.
Absolutely. So you've already started the petition.
Yeah.
You've already been in front of some of the legislators. Um,
Mhm.
People across the planet, not across the planet, across the country, can help. You said by signing that petition. But what are some of the other things that they can do? Is there a foundation? Have you all started fundraising for the different missions that you all have done? Do you want to connect with other advocates across the country? Like, where here is the perfect opportunity to let people know what they can do to help with this.
Start the foundation is called TKO. The pit maneuver killed our loved one while chasing. So that's something that I'm working on now. I hope to be getting that out there maybe in the next couple of weeks, and we'll go from there. And am reaching out to other ones that this has happened to, connecting with families that this has happened to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So starting that group and having that foundation. So y'all heard it here. Don't just sit on the sidelines and say, this is amazing what Miss Ross is doing. She definitely needs your help. So tell me a little bit more about um the events afterwards. Like, how has it affected you? How has it affected your family? Has it been all roses? Has it been all peaches and cream? Like, let's talk through it.
It definitely hasn't been all roses. Um, because we are a close knit family, and when I tell you that it disrupted my family, and seeing the hurt and the pain from everybody. Um, like the day of the funeral, it's like close to 1,000 people, and as I'm walking in, the pain of his sister attaches to me, his dad, his grandparents, his friends, and I had to belt everything in because I had to be strong for everybody. But it has everybody's dealing with it in their own way, and I kind of isolated a little bit. I was angry. I was mad. I questioned God. I was cold. I became bitter at times. And sometimes I just didn't, I was numb. And it led to some things whereas I wasn't sleeping, and I was already having a hard time sleeping before my son was killed. Then after he was killed, it got worse. So me thinking that, hey, maybe I could have a drink that'll help me. So I started drinking, and I never liked the taste of it, but I made it taste like Kool-Aid. So I have a drink called the Char Experience.
Oh
And
man.
so it's like it was a little Tito's and a little mango punch and a little lemonade and a little tea. and that was it. That was, my drink. But um, then I started hiding it, and then as I'm doing in my laundry, and I see it's in there, and I'm like, I hadn't didn't recall putting it there, but it was there. And then the same thing that I was hiding from my daughter, she was hiding from me.
Mm,
So, and this it was okay, and I let her know that it's okay. We go through things, but then we learn from these things. And one night I didn't want to be in the same place that I was before, and I had went to a party, and everybody that knew me, they was like, I didn't look like I was in place. Like, you're out of place. And so, when people see you and they watch you. And so this one girl, she was my classmate, and she was like, I thought you was a churchy girl. And, she had me way up here. And I'm like, because you see me with a drink, that means I don't have a relationship with God. So she watched me. And so they was passing around a blunt, and I wasn't there smoking. They knew that I wasn't. So I followed the girl into the kitchen, and I was like, let me get some of that. And I was like, you don't smoke. And I was like, they asked me, what are you doing? And at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. But hey, I was like, I don't want to feel like I felt on Thanksgiving. So maybe this will make me feel another kind of way.
mm-hmm.
So I tried it. And then in the next 5 minutes, my legs were wanting to move without me operating them on my own. So I'm like, what in the world is going on? So my daughter saw me becoming someone. I saw myself becoming someone. And I saw the ugly side of me for the first time. I saw myself at my lowest, at my worst. And it was the first time that I could not drive my car home and that my daughter had seen me this way. I was someone that my daughter looked up to. So I come in the house and she's like, where's your car? And I'm just kind of walking funny. And I seemed like I was walking tall. And so what she said to me was that, Ma, this would be our secret. And what I said to her, I was like, no, this is going in the book. People need to
Mm,
know that things happen, but we
yeah.
did, we didn't, and we face it. So that right there let me know that, hey, this is not you. You have to do something different. So that's when I woke up that night. I woke up
Yeah.
and I started my book.
Listen, and that's powerful. Anthony McCarty is watching with us, and he said, wow, he said your transparency is helping us. And and the sad thing about grief is that most people think that grief is just, everybody show up to a funeral and then it's over. Because now people go back to their normal lives, and here you are, the mom and his sister that are still sitting there every day dealing with it. So tell me, has this situation brought you and your daughter closer together? Like, what's the relationship there like now, and how have y'all helped each other to kind of overcome the grief?
Well, um, one day I came into the house and I had just stopped at the liquor store, and for some odd reason, I just made a beeline for a room. And I guess this particular day she was cleaning up stuff or either trying to get rid of stuff before I came home. And I just went straight to her room. And when I got in her room, I saw all these bottles.
Mm,
And then later on, her best friend would get killed, whom
mm,
used to stay with us for a little while. So I mean, we was at each other sometimes, and um, and I told her I can't tell you how to grieve. All I know is that I love you and I don't want anything to happen to you. So now I become very protective. She's my last. She's all I have.
mhm.
So we both went to counseling. So and I tell anybody, it's okay to get help. Don't be
Yes, it
ashamed to
is.
get help. It's okay. So that's helped a whole lot, and we're better. So
Hey, listen, I love that. It's almost like there was something in you that was telling you that something was wrong. Um, and I've been around. I can, um, hopefully my aunt doesn't mind me sharing this, but my aunt has had two of her children pass away. One was killed in 2003, and the other passed away last year from cancer. And we talk often, and there's a lot of similarities in your story and in her story as far as how you're dealing with the loss and how she has dealt with the loss, like the protection. What are some of the stages that you can see in overcoming grief that you've experienced that may help somebody else that's going through it? And we even talked about it. One of your friends recently had a situation. So what are some things that you would share with them to overcome this situation?
First thing I would say is to get into your word. That helps a lot, getting into the word and a lot of journaling. And then the next thing I did was I started getting back into some of the things I used to do all the time. I started back fishing. I started back playing tennis, doing a little basketball. Not that good of a player, but hey, it was to channel that pain in a different area. And then, but the biggest thing was to help others. Me dealing with hurt. My hurt is helping someone heal.
Yeah.
So I reached out to people. I helped them in any way that I could. Um, just calling and talking and letting people know that there's help out there and that you need to turn that pain into something else. Find something, find a good cause, whether it's like this young girl lost her son and it was guns. So I told her what she's to do now is to advocate for these guns and these kids. So I never thought of that. So, trying to help in there, give them kind of ideas of where they can go, and channel that pain, doing a good cause, things like that.
Yeah. Hey, and helping others helps us to heal, right?
Yeah.
I think we said it this way yesterday. Hurt people hurt people. And we see that all in our society. But healed people can help to heal people. And I definitely see you as a person who is healing and helping others, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we'll do, once again, real quick, take a quick commercial break. We're gonna come back and hear more from Miss Charlene Ross. If you all have not heard her story, this story is phenomenal, it's powerful, and it's removing all the excuses from each of our lives. So we'll be back once again in about 2 and 2. Business of Books Mastermind Coaching Program has been around for the past 3 years. Myself as a coach, we've actually helped hundreds of authors get their books published and even more to become Amazon #1 best-selling authors. Over the past year and a half, we started our Amazon bestseller launch program, and 225 plus to date have all become #1 best-selling authors in multiple categories. Now, the reason that we started this coaching program is for people like you who you've either just started working on your first book and you don't know where to go with it. You're looking for a blueprint to creating your book. You're wondering how to market your book. You're wondering about how to connect with your audience. And most importantly, how am I going to sell this book and create income from it? These are all things that we teach you inside of 90 Days to Bestseller. The reason that this program is relevant to you is because you want to write that book and you want to be successful. Now that person may not be you. Here's the opposite. You've already written your book and you want to relaunch it as a bestseller. Been there, done that. My first book, I actually changed the cover twice for that exact same reason. The first cover, I loved it. But for some reason, after a while, it got stale. It was sitting on the shelf. So I created my own cover. Bad idea, right? The reason that it was a bad idea is because it looked like somebody was creating a network marketing flyer for my book. Went back and let a professional do it. Keyword, professional. Once that professional got their hands on my book, changed the book cover, it created a completely different vibe for my book. And here's what we've done as a result. From that change, from those slight changes, having a professional designer, going and hiring a professional editor, that book has actually launched a career for me that has taken me around the globe. And when I say around the globe, I've spoken at places all across the country and even done a few virtual international workshops here, here in the past few months. Now, for you, we can show you the exact same thing. We have the blueprint, we have the tools, we have the system that will work to help you get your book published and launched as an Amazon bestseller. Now, how long does it take? Typically, it takes us about 90 days. We're not going to tell you that it's going to be overnight. We're not going to tell you that it's going to be easy, but we will tell you that we have a blueprint that works, and you should be next. All right. We are back. Shout out as always to our sponsor, Business of Books Mastermind Program, the BOBM Publishing, and the upcoming course, 90 Days to Bestseller. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are joined live with Miss Charlene Ross, Amazon #1 bestseller in multiple categories, at least 8 categories. Her story is extremely powerful. She talks about how her book is about the loss of her son due to the pit maneuver that the police used it improperly, and actually he lost his life as a result. She was on that call, on a phone call with him when this all was happening. And we're talking about how she got past the grief, and still, I'm not going to say got past it, because as a parent, you never get past the loss of your child. But some things that she's done to help her, and what can help others. So, Ms. Charlene, you talked about the relationship with you and your daughter changing. You also gave a few tips for overcoming grief and overcoming loss for parents. What are some things that have changed in your life as a result of this situation?
It just made me look at life differently and to cherish every moment. So my thing is hashtag don't let time slip away, and grasp onto those those moments. Um,
Take your time.
it's just and family is everything. It's everything. So it's just helped me go out there and just want to do what I can to make a difference and to bring about a change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell it's still heavy on you, and still tough. Don't listen. I say it like this all the time on Book Talk Live. Let it out. It ain't we not perfect people. And one of the things that has happened in recent years, more people are starting to understand like time is precious, right? There's a lot of moments that you had with your son, and let's kind of take it back a little bit. Tell us a little bit more. We know about Shonquell's death. Tell us about his life.
Oh gosh, he has the the biggest smile. And of course, he looks just like me, but his heart was so big. And for one of his friends came up to me, and he was like, that day he only had found out Shonquell was 22 that day, because he was just so old. He had an old soul. But one of his friends came up and said that he was from pillar to post, that he really didn't have anywhere to stay, and that his shoes was just really worn out. And he said Shonquell looked at his feet one day, and he's like, "Man, what size shoe do you wear?" And he was like, "A size 12." And he thought that Shonquell was gonna get some from his closet and bring them to him. Shonquell went and brought him a pair of Jordans, and he came back and gave them to him. He's like, "Nobody's ever done anything for me like that before." So when I say he had a big heart, a lot like me, and he was a giver. And for one of the guys, he was like, we called Shonquell and say, "Man, I need 10 or 15, dollars for gas." So Shonquell goes and he says, "Here's 30. It'll get you through the week." $10
Mhm.
is not gonna get you anywhere. So he had that kind of heart. And when I say all of the kids just loved him, but the love that he had for his sister, I mean, he would just do anything for her. She could be at school and she'll call and say she hungry or something. He was helping his granddaddy one day build a stage over at his shop. And he said, Shonquell, where you going? He said, my sister hungry. I'm going to take her something to eat. So the love that he had for his sister and other family members and his friends was just something that a whole lot of families, it should be something that should be displayed across America. The kind of love that he had.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Listen, I love it because just hearing about him, and I actually have some of the pictures that you shared that are actually inside the book, with that are not in the ebook, but actually in the physical book. Uh, and he does have that smile. He does have your smile. Um, give me a second and let me see if I can't uh, pull up some of his pictures. We'll do that. We'll do that in a moment. But tell me a little bit more about it, because what one memory stands out to you, about Shonquell, or what are a few of those memories?
Oh, Shonquell. Okay, he was about 11 months, and one of my friends was over, and I was doing the hair, and she was messing with the socket. She was trying to plug something in, so he's like, "My mom said you can't mess with that, or you get electrocuted." And she was like, "Where he coming from? He's only 11 months, and his vocabulary, So at age 5, he was on a third grade level. He was real, very smart. But one that stood out is him and his sister was trying to surprise me for Mother's Day.
Hmm.
So I'm in the bed and I'm acting like I'm asleep, and he asking her, and I think she was about 7, probably about 4, and asking her how long should it take in the microwave. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I heard something like boom. So I'm thinking like, what in the world is my kitchen looking like? What has happened? So I hear their little feet coming, and I'm trying to be just as calm and like trying to be surprised when they knock on the door, like Ed McMahon or somebody had just knocked on the door. So he comes in the room and um, he said, "We're trying to surprise you for Mother's Day, and this is what we came up with." And it was some eggs and some hot dogs that looked like they were just scrambled. I guess the hot dogs that blew up. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But they went through all that, for me, and so I just kind of was trying to hurt for them to get out that room. So I had to taste a little bit. So, but things like that, those type of memories, and um, and when he did get older, and how he would leave me stuff like roses and stuff like that, and being that he didn't have any kids, I'm missing out on a lot, that because he was just taken from me so early, and I just was wishing that he would have made a baby somewhere. Just waiting on somebody to say, "Hey, this is Shonquell's baby," but not. And but just the love that when I say him and his sister was like ice and water, and how a lot of people will come up and say how they admired their relationship. You know, he would do anything for her and for me. You know, but I remember we was on our way to Raleigh, and Symphony was like, if something got on her clothes, she would want to go buy something, especially if it was out. And I'm like, wait till we get back home. But she was like, um, I might see somebody famous in the store or something like that. So we was on our way to Raleigh, and she had these um, little pancake things, French toast sticks, and she's getting syrup on her. She's crying. She was like whiny, real whiny. And so her brother was like, he put some tissue right here and, fix her up and pull her a little bit closer. And it wasn't good enough. She still was spilling stuff all over herself. And so he was so kind. And Symphony was a slow eater, I promise you. And she had 5 of these things to eat. So He said, "Here," he said, "I'm gonna pull you over to me, and I'm gonna hold this for you and let you dip this." No, if that wasn't a good brother, he was a
Hmm.
good brother. I was like, "Girl, you gonna eat these things the best way you can." Yeah. Well, just those memories, and those are some good memories. We used to do a lot of family games and things like that, and it's just it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can imagine. I see how you are lighting up just the memories of Shonquell, and that's amazing because that tells me that he didn't just leave something with this earth. He left something with you that is not going anywhere anytime soon. And I see that Symphony is chiming in as well. She's kind of laughing as you were telling the story and uh and and kind of chiming in with you. Um, what is the
Because he took the fun out of everything. I'm like, I mean, he just at the age 5, he was just ironing like a grown man and just so serious about it. Or he'll come home and he'll say, "I pulled my tooth today," and I'm like, "No, you're supposed to come home and let me tie it to a string and put it to a doorknob and yank it." And he taught himself how to ride a bike and swim. He was just one of those kids he was just real smart, very smart. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love hearing about him, and it makes me wish I had the chance to meet him because he sounds special. He definitely sounds like he left a mark on the people in his life, which is amazing. Um, have you what what advice do you have for the parents out there, or yeah, what advice do you have for the parents out there that may have to deal with something similar?
I'll say, um, make memories, and no matter what, um, stand up for what you believe in, and push your kids, and like, I'm not giving up on what I set out to do. Um, so my advice is to love hard, your kid, and be involved, and say,
Yeah,
"Hey, what's going on? What kind of plans you got? What kind of goals? Where you headed to?" Ask those kind of questions. It's okay. Like I get on Symphony all the time. She think I'm the meanest mom in the world sometimes, and it's only because I love her,
yeah,
and I know the potential that she has. So guess what? I'm still gonna push her. And that's just me being the mother that I am, because I know, God has great things for her. Symphony has a lot of talent too. So, and I'm waiting for her to come out with her thing. She can write as well. You know,
oh,
yeah,
listen, we got room for more bestsellers.
that's
And
right.
so I love what you said, because there's two things that people are doing these days. We're now in that era where people are like, I'm you know what, the next person that does me something, I'm just gonna cut them off. But in all honesty, it's a two-way street, right? Was there a reason to cut someone off? And what you're saying is celebrate. When it comes down to parenting, here's the one pet peeve that I have for a lot of parents, and it's like they're trying to be. Yes, it's your job to be the child's friend, but it's also your job to push them to their level of greatness, right? How do you cross that gentle line of being the friend, but at the same time being stern enough to make sure that Symphony is now on the track of chasing her dreams?
Yeah, I'll be your friend. We'll do things, and I want you to confide in me. Um, but like I've always tell her, coming from a woman's point, I'm coming from you from a woman's point of view, because she's a woman now, and I give it to her straight like that. And sometimes I have to give it to her how she's receiving it, or how she's dealing with things sometimes. And sometimes I be raw with her. And then I'll let her know, hey, I'm gonna have to give it to you raw because I want you to get it.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's okay to be their friend, because she say, Mom, you're my best friend, but listen, I'm your best friend, but I'm your mom first. And I'm that woman. And I've been there and I've done that, with some of the things that she may deal with or is facing. And I respect her for her choices and her little decision. But still, at the end of the day, I'm your mama, and your mama know, and mama is not going to tell you nothing wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, I love that. I tell my son all the time, ain't nothing that you can do now that I haven't already done. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'd have made more mistakes than you can even begin to think about. So I
yeah.
I love it.
And I let her
Listen,
know, it's okay to make a mistake. Guess what? I'm still your mama, and we all make mistakes. Is that we learn from them, and what did you learn from it? You know, and you guys see your part. And I tell her, what is your part in this? You guys see your part in this, and be accountable. So I want you to have accountability. So I talk to her like that, and she can respect me for that. So.
yeah,
And then I
absolutely.
can see her maybe 5 or 10 years later, she'll reflect back. Oh, yeah, mom did say that. It'll always come out like that. It does me like that sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still find myself daily calling my parents and saying, you know what, you were right. You were right.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Whereas, yeah, being younger, you don't see it that way. Well, listen, we are on our last break. This is definitely a pleasure. Just kind of talking to you and going over your story. We're gonna take one last commercial break, a real quick commercial break. Be back in about a minute. So we'll see you right back shortly.
Okay.
Hello, guys. This is Chip Baker of Chip Baker The Success Chronicles. So many things I've learned from the experience of working with Sugar Ray Destin and Business of Books Mastermind. The people that are involved, the team, they're all great. They all do great work. Made us best-selling authors. We learned so much in the process. Learned so much how to grow together. Learned how to grow individually in our projects that we did, our visionary projects. But it's been a great experience. You won't be disappointed in doing work with them. Go get it.
Hey, and we are back. I told you it was gonna be a really quick break. So, so for those of you who are just joining us, we've been joined today by Miss Charlene Ross, Amazon #1 best-selling author in at least 8 categories. Um, Her story is powerful. Her story is phenomenal, and I'm gonna say to everybody that is tuned in, um, make sure you go out and you connect with Charlene to get the autographed copy of her book. Make sure you grab that paperback and you grab that collector's edition hardcover from her. We'll post the links in the chat once the interview is over. But her story powerful. Like I said, her story. Her son Shonquell lost his life during a high speed chase. The police used a pit maneuver illegally on him, and she is now fighting to have his law passed through Congress and in the state, not just in the state but nationwide. So as we speak, she's not just a mother, but she's also an advocate. She's out there fighting. She's fighting fervently, and she could use your help to get that message out there. Tell the people how they can connect with you again before we continue.
You can connect with me through Facebook. My email, charleneross.mg@gmail.com. I'm working with some individuals to put some things out there to start a foundation called TKO, the Pit Maneuver Killed Our Loved One While Chasing, and a petition. So Mr. McCauley is going to be helping me with that petition. Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, um, what I want to talk to you about before we wrap up is, what was your writing process like? Because what most people, obviously this is book talk live, so we got to talk a little bit more about the book, how it came to be. um One, how did you bring it to reality? Like, what was your writing process like?
Um, well, I was on the bed one day and I was looking at it's a wall picture, and my son was there, and my girlfriend had called previously that week, and she was like, "Shar, you gotta write your book." And I was like, "I don't know how to write a book. I write poems. I know how to write plays." And she's like, "No, God is going to give it to you." It's like I never thought. So I was like, and it should be. She said it should be something that's surrounding you and Symphony and Shonquell. And so she was trying to give me some ideas of a title, and it just wasn't coming. So I was sitting on the bed one day, and I looked, and the words "My life without you" just came. And then so I prayed, and she said, "Once you pick up the pen, God is going to give it to you." So and that's what happened. I started picking up the pen, and then but as I'm in the process of all this, I'm still hurting, and I'm still mad, and I'm still angry. So I found myself writing sometimes, and then I would have to pull away just to take a break for it. Because sometimes I would write for like 8 hours,
Mhm.
and then I would have to change up my environment, and then I start procrastinating a little bit because it was supposed to be done. So one day I was like, hey, this got to get out there. I just got to do it, and so I did, and it took about 6 months for me to get everything together. But it's just reliving some of the things, and some of the things that made me mad, and I couldn't do anything about. Um, like it's a website out there, and it's called Chimp Mania. Chimp like monkey, like you know apes and stuff like that. So Symphony was in college, and she was taking public speaking, and so she was doing a course, a paper on the pit maneuver and how it's dangerous and how it take lives, how it terminate lives. And so she does research and she Googles her brother. So
Mhm.
on this site, it has his picture, and he was dating a girl of color, a Caucasian girl, and her picture was on there, and they had his picture and her plastered all over the site. And so she's sitting in college, and these people are calling her brother a spook and a coon, and saying that we're so sorry that the officer had to come in contact with this disgusting nigger, but lucky for us, it ended well. And did a tree get hurt? So I'm looking at all these things. So 3 months ago was the first time that I was able to read it all the way through. And I'm like, if my daughter wasn't strong enough, if I wasn't strong enough to read that and see that, she could have took her life. And it just lets you know that hate is still out there, and it's strong, and it's not going anywhere. And that people could be so mean and so cruel and say those things. Because at the end of the day, he belonged to somebody, and he was loved. And he was loved by a lot of people. So things like that. And I tried to get into the site. I tried to get that site taken down, and nothing. So it was hard. A lot of times it was hard, but I got through. I am proof that you can make it, that there is purpose in your pain, and that my hurt was to heal and help other people heal from what I've gone through. And it increased my faith life, it increased my prayer life. Um, I'm closer with God. So, and change is going to come. I've come this far not for this bill not to pass.
Yeah.
It's going to manifest.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna manifest. Um,
Mhm.
you mentioned that site, right? Um, and the fact that there's still that type of hate out there is horrible, right? So for the people that are on that site or that even agree with things like that are on that site, shame on you. We live in a world that is truly a melting pot of the best in all of us, and also the worst in all of us. So for those that have allowed the worst in themselves to be the truth that they live in, shame on you, right? There's more love to be spread than that. And I'm sorry that you and your daughter had to experience that. But as we said before, your story, the honesty, the transparency, the truth in your story is there to help others who are going through situations very similar to yours, and not just similar, but also that have lost loved ones in grief and um, in different situations. What's next for Charlene Ross? What's next?
Um,
I heard you were running from something that's inevitable, though.
what's that?
I heard you was running from these speaking opportunities that are inevitable for a woman of such power.
That's it. That is it. That's my plan, to go and just share my story and reach as many people as I can. The first person that reached out to me was a lady in Ohio, and her sister had just simply called a ride, and she didn't know that the car that she was riding in was stolen,
Mm,
and they did a pit maneuver, and it wasn't called for. So I want to go visit her and see her, and I want to hold uh, a protest there and go to some of these other places and rally against this. That's what my plan is. And it's something. It's funny you say that. What's next? That was the name of my next book. What happens next? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
absolutely. So
this is the first of many books that's going to come. This is not the only book that I'm going to write. Yeah,
come on now,
that's right.
published published author, best-selling author, Miss
Yeah.
Charlene Ross. Um, and so what you all can look forward to from Charlene is more books, more lessons, um, more speaking opportunities, and definitely being more involved in things that are going on around the country. You have any last words for the people that are tuned in with us?
Just make sure you get my book now. Um, the paperback is $22.99, and the special edition is $32.99. Um, I have a PayPal that's set up that I'm going to put out there later on. Look for my petition and help me build my foundation called TKO.
Mm,
Yes,
absolutely. So for everybody that's tuned in and those that are catch the replay, make sure you connect with Miss Charlene Ross. Sign that petition. We need to get that petition out there, and definitely go grab your copies. Go grab both the paperback and that collector's edition hardcover. All right. So this has been another edition of Book Talk Live. We love y'all, and we will see y'all next time. Love y'all. Mhm.
well,